I was drenched in sweat, my shirt clinging to my back, my tongue as parched as a desert dune. All I could think about was the pint of double fudge swirl waiting in my garage freezer. I'd just finished mowing the lawn in 97-degree heat, and I practically dashed to the freezer as if it were my salvation from a sea of torment. But when I opened it, the container sat there, empty. Again, just like last week and the week before that. 4 pints of ice cream vanished in 2 months from a locked garage freezer. Not taken from the kitchen, not eaten by me, no evidence, just gone. If you've ever gazed into an empty ice cream tub you know you didn't touch, only to realize someone's been breaking into your property for a sweet fix, you'd understand the mental unraveling I was experiencing. At first, I doubted myself. Maybe I'd eaten it during a late-night binge and forgotten. Perhaps my cousin, who'd visited last month, had a sugar craving and sneaked a scoop. But after the 4th disappearance, the truth became undeniable. Someone was infiltrating my garage, targeting my ice cream, and leaving everything else, pizza, frozen peas, untouched. It was methodical, like clockwork. Each time I reviewed my Ring camera footage, there'd be a strange glitch, a blackout right around the time I suspected the theft occurred. It was infuriating, digital ghosts pilfering my snacks. I wasn't losing my mind, or so I hoped. I confided in my best friend, Mia, who owns a local sushi bar. She thought I was exaggerating until she came over one night to watch reality TV, and we went for ice cream. Only to find yet another empty pint, safety seal expertly removed. "This is precision work," she said. "You've got a dessert bandit on your hands." She laughed. I didn't. That night, sleep evaded me. I lay awake, imagining some brazen, spoon-wielding fiend creeping into my garage without a shred of guilt. At 2 a.m., pacing my living room, it hit me like a revelation. Susan Miller. Susan, the Homeowners Association president, a master of sanctimony and fines. She had a master key, a motive, and a track record. This was the woman who once fined my neighbor's 6-year-old $50 for chalk butterflies on the sidewalk. She adored rules more than anything, except, apparently, my ice cream. Accusing her without proof was dangerous, though. Susan didn't fight fair. She fought with bylaws and laminated threats of liens if your trash bin lingered curbside too long. So, I devised a plan. Bait her, trap her, gather irrefutable evidence. The next morning, I made a Home Depot run. Alongside mulch and zip ties, I bought a tiny, battery-powered motion camera. At home, I hollowed out an old popsicle box, tucked the camera inside, and positioned it in the freezer behind some decoy diet ice cream no sane person would eat. For bait, I chose a decadent pint of triple-chunk sea salt caramel swirl, the kind with gold labeling that screams luxury. Then I waited. I left the garage door slightly ajar during the day, a violation Susan herself had once cited me for, hoping she'd see it as an invitation. I monitored the camera feed obsessively. Day 1, nothing. Day 2, a raccoon sniffing around. Day 3, jackpot. At 2:46 p.m. on Wednesday, there she was, Susan in full reconnaissance mode, visor on, fanny pack secured, clipboard under her arm like she was inspecting for HOA compliance. She glanced around, stepped into my garage as if she owned it, and headed straight for the freezer. She opened it, sniffed the pint, and strolled off, licking a spoon she'd brought with her. She even tossed the empty container into my trash bin. I sat in my living room, footage paused on her smug, ice cream-smeared face, a triumphant grin like she'd earned it. Fueled by fury and disbelief, I marched to her house that evening and knocked. She answered with that Susan smile, the one that said she already despised your existence. I cut to the chase. I knew about the ice cream. I had video proof, and I demanded an apology and a promise to stay out of my garage. She blinked, laughed, then flipped open her HOA clipboard. Per HOA guidelines, Section 14B, she recited, any unsecured garage may be inspected for pest control violations. Consider this a community service. And if you're storing food improperly, that's a code breach. I could fine you. I was floored. You ate my ice cream. I taste tested a suspicious item for safety, she replied smoothly. It could have been expired. I was protecting the neighborhood. I left before I lost my temper entirely. Reasoning with her was futile. She didn't see it as theft. She saw it as dominance. That's when inspiration struck. A twisted, brilliant idea. If Susan craved ice cream so badly, I'd give her more than she could handle. I'd weaponize dessert. She wanted cold? I'd deliver fire, blazing, sinus-searing fire, frozen in a pint of deceptive sweetness. Thus began Operation Wasabi Cream. Mia nearly choked on her miso soup when I pitched it. You want to fill ice cream with wasabi? Real wasabi, the kind that makes grown men weep in my restaurant. I nodded, resolute. Not just cry. I want her to question every choice that led her to that spoon. I replayed the footage, adding dramatic music for effect. Susan, HOA president and self-appointed food inspector, had crossed the wrong freezer. With Mia's help, we turned dessert into poetic justice. Within 24 hours, Mia transformed her sushi bar's back room into a wasabi laboratory. We ordered premium vanilla and mint chip pints, melted them down, and blended in restaurant-grade wasabi. The first batch was too mild. Susan's palate, hardened by HOA battles, needed a punch. By the third attempt, we'd crafted a mix so potent it made Mia tear up from the vapors. I tested a tiny spoonful. My head ignited, and I sneezed so fiercely I startled a stray cat outside. Perfect. We refroze the blend in pristine containers, identical to the stolen ones, and placed them behind the decoy ice cream. Everything had to seem natural. Susan was cunning enough to spot a setup. For legal cover, I added, not for consumption, contained spice labels under the lids and filmed the preparation process, documenting every step. No lawsuits, just karma, frozen and fiery. That weekend, I left the garage door cracked again, signaling the bait was set. I pretended to sort my junk drawer, but watched the motion detector app intently. At 1:14 p.m., the alert pinged. Freezer opened. 30 seconds later, the ring cam showed Susan strutting away, pint in hand, like she'd scored a bargain. Then I waited. 12 minutes later, a scream erupted, not a typical shout, but a primal wail of betrayal. From my window, I saw Susan staggering in her yard, face flushed, ice cream smeared on her lips like war paint. She wrestled with her garden hose, gulping water as her Crocs squeaked on the patio. She slipped, fell, and it was glorious. Neighbors emerged, concerned. She tried to explain but could only wheeze incoherently, flailing as if under attack. Then she stumbled inside, leaving a trail of grass and mint-flavored disgrace. The police arrived soon after, 2 cruisers, lights flashing. I greeted Officer Daniels, whom I knew from a prior Susan-related call about offensive wind chimes, with a calm coffee in hand. Susan stormed up behind them, pointing wildly. He poisoned me. That monster filled ice cream with wasabi. I could have died. Daniels raised an eyebrow. I sipped my coffee. I have footage. She trespassed, stole my ice cream, and got what she deserved. The container was labeled, "I'll show you everything." Her jaw dropped as I presented the evidence. Theft footage, warning labels, prep video. Daniels reviewed it, then told Susan, "You entered his garage without permission." He labeled it. "This is civil, not criminal." She sputtered, "I'm the HOA president. I have access rights." "No, you don't," Daniels countered. "Emergency inspections don't cover snack raids." Defeated, she stormed off, hiccuping wasabi fumes. That night, Mia and I celebrated on my porch, replaying the footage and laughing until we ached. Susan, the neighborhood tyrant, felled by spicy retribution. The ice cream was safe, for now. But her retreating glare hinted this wasn't over. She'd regroup. 3 days later, an HOA notice appeared on my door. Emergency Conduct Review, Community Endangerment. Susan was retaliating, charging me with culinary weaponization and threatening eviction. That evening, I attended the HOA meeting, armed with evidence. Susan accused me of assault via fiery substances, but my presentation, titled Susan vs. Ice Cream, a cold case, flipped the script. Footage of her thefts, labeled pints, and her own incriminating voicemail turned the room against her. Board members revealed her misuse of HOA funds, and Officer Daniels vouched for her history of frivolous complaints. She was unanimously ousted as president. Peace reigned briefly until Susan tried to come back, pushing sneaky HOA amendments from her new job at a yogurt shop. I countered with a freezer fair, ice cream for all, no wasabi, and rallied the neighborhood to reject her proposals. She faded into obscurity, and I upgraded my freezer to a motion-detecting vault, dubbed Susan-proof. Elected as community liaison, I ensured her ilk never returned. Mia and I even launched Cold Karma, a prank wasabi ice cream brand that sold out fast. Sipping real ice cream one summer night, I reflected, from a missing pint sprang chaos, justice, and a sweeter neighborhood, served cold, with a fiery twist.